he was? Were you aware?
I didn't know very much. I mean, I knew he was a wealthy man because you heard the guards, talking about it. When they put him in my cell, they said, you're going to get company. And I said, why? And they said, well, we know you're the only guy that won't shake him down or beat the hell out of him. And I thought that was funny because I'm charged with quadruple homicide that they put in the nation's highest profile case, and with me.
What if I told you that one day a cop sworn to protect you ends up torturing men, burying bodies on his own property, and somehow gets linked to Jeffrey Epstein's mysterious death? It sounds like a movie, right? But this is real. This is one of those terrifying stories that will make you question everything about power, crime, and what really goes on behind prison walls. We're diving straight into the life of Nicolás Tartaglione, a name you probably never even heard before unless you live deep into crime forums or dig in weird late-night news threads. He wasn't just some guy. He used to wear the badge. A cop. A police officer that once walked the streets of New York like some tough guy keeping order. Big muscles, gym rat, the type who looked like he'd break you in half if he even sneezed wrong in front of him. But that same cop ended up with 4 life sentences, locked away. Not for some tiny scandal, not for one mistake. Nah, we're talking blood, torture, drug deals, mafia ties, and a trail that somehow leads us right to Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, that Epstein.
Tartaglione wasn't always a headline monster. He started as the guy patrolling small towns, a face of the law. But behind the badge, he was obsessed with bodybuilding. Steroids became his little side hustle. And once you step into that world, you're just one shady handshake away from mafias and cartels. Before long, he wasn't just pushing gym juice. He was tangled up in cocaine trafficking. And when you're moving coke with cartels, it's not if things go bloody, it's when. The horror kicked in full swing when he got accused of orchestrating the brutal murders of 4 men. Imagine that. A cop who should have been protecting people instead strangled, tortured, and shot them. We're talking old-school mafia-style execution. Bodies buried in a shallow grave on his own property, like he thought he was some character in a gangster flick. Only this wasn't Hollywood. This was real. What makes it even colder? 2 of the victims weren't even the targets. They were just in the wrong place, wrong time. Executed by mistake. That's the type of detail that makes your stomach turn. Innocent men killed just because they happened to be standing next to the wrong people.
Now, here's where the story turns from scary to flat-out unbelievable. Because in the summer of 2019, guess who Nicolás Tartaglione ends up sharing a prison cell with? Jeffrey frickin' Epstein. Yeah, the billionaire pedophile that the whole world still debates if he was murdered or not. That guy. And who do they put in his cell? A cop already known for choking men out with his bare hands. Seriously. And just days into that weird cellmate arrangement, guards find Epstein with marks around his neck. Everyone points the finger at Tartaglione, because strangling was his signature. But nope, officials claimed Epstein tried to off himself. Suicide attempt. Case closed. Move along. Except, not really, because Epstein didn't die that night. He was just moved. And then, weeks later, the cameras magically malfunction. The guards fall asleep. Epstein ends up dead with a bedsheet around his neck. The official word? Suicide. The word on the street? He got silenced. And Tartaglione, the last guy to share a cell with him, the guy who already tried once, he suddenly becomes suspect number one in the eyes of conspiracy hunters everywhere.
Of Epstein when he landed in your jail cell. Did you know who he was? Were you aware?
I didn't know very much. I mean, I knew he was a wealthy man because you heard the guards, talking about it. When they put him in my cell, they said, you're going to get company. And I said, why? And said, well, we know you're the only guy that won't shake him down or beat the hell out of him. And I thought that was funny because I'm charged with quadruple homicide. They put in the nation's, highest profile case, and with me.
Let's play it out for a second. You've got a cop turned criminal, already tied to cartels, already used to violence, already dirty with political connections. Then he gets placed in the same cell as the most high-profile prisoner in the entire country. Is that random luck, or was it arranged? People think Tartaglione might have been hired muscle, a prison assassin in uniform, the kind of guy who does the job, keeps his mouth shut, and disappears into life sentences where he'll eventually accidentally die before ever talking. And here's the terrifying part. Tartaglione himself has been saying lately he fears for his life. He claims he knows things, big things, the kind of info that could crumble powerful people if he ever spoke up. And if you connect those dots, you start wondering if his final chapter has already been written for him. The thing about dark stories like this one is they don't just stay in the crime section. They bleed into politics, into money, into power. Epstein's death is one of the biggest question marks of our generation. And when you add a guy like Nicolás Tartaglione to the picture, it doesn't just feel like coincidence. It feels like the cover of a horror novel you don't want to keep reading, but you can't look away. Do you think Epstein really killed himself, or was he silenced? And if Tartaglione was involved, what does that say about the kind of dirty deals happening right under our noses? Sometimes the darkest stories aren't the ones Hollywood writes. They're the ones buried in court papers, whispered in prison yards, and covered with the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. If this story freaked you out as much as it did me, hit that subscribe button and stick around. I've got more dark, crazy, exclusive stories like this one, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. Smash that like, share it with your friends, and let's dive together into the world of the untold, the twisted, and the unbelievable. Your next favorite story is just around the corner.